up. Everybody on the staff wants to go already. So we're going to get more boats to take all of us to the BVI. And if you want to come along, that'd be great. I'd like to answer all your questions about this, but to start just a little bit, I don't know, you may be sitting too far away, you might not be able to see the pictures, and it's pretty bright out behind us. But anybody know what the temperature is this evening? I think I just looked, it was 78 degrees. I would like you to imagine it's now February. It won't be 78 degrees here, but it will be 78 degrees in Tortola in the Virgin Islands. The average temperature is 82. It gets to, the average temperature at night is 72, and the average water temperature is about 72. So if you want to be somewhere other than here in February, this is the place. I'd like to show you a few slides about the Virgin Islands, about the British Virgin Islands in particular, and talk to you about places that we sometimes go. This might not be our exact itinerary. Usually it is, based on beautiful trade winds that come from the east at about 12 to 15 knots every day. When I got there this year, the wind was from the west, so we ran the whole thing in reverse. So because of climate change, we never quite know what we're going to get. It was actually a little warmer than I was used to. This January, end of January, beginning of February, it was like 86, 87 degrees in a day. And but still, it was very, very pleasant. We're going to talk a little bit about the British Virgin Islands. So there's Road Town. You do not, I've had people already ask me, are we going to sail from Annapolis to the Virgin Islands? The answer to that is no, because it takes about 3 weeks, and it's miserable, and it's February, and you don't want to go through the graveyard of the Atlantic in February to get there. So we're going to fly to the Virgin Islands, or you're going to fly to the Virgin Islands. I'm certainly going to do that. This is a very fuzzy map of the Virgin Islands that I made up from the internet. This is the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands. Still good there? Yeah. Yeah. This is about, if you want to know where it is, we're about 90 miles east of Puerto Rico. So we're on the same latitude as Puerto Rico. And this is the U.S. Virgin Islands. There are two. This is St. Thomas and St. John. Not in the picture is St. Croix, which is about 60 miles to the south. So that's the U.S. Virgin Islands. All the rest of this is the British Virgin Islands. The big island is Tortola, discovered by Columbus in 1493. Virgin Gorda is over there. And then up here is the only coral atoll in the Caribbean. It's actually it's an island called Anegada. It's about 10 miles long, only about 20 feet above sea level at the highest point, and it has the fourth largest barrier reef in the world, called Anegada Reef. So this is basically our cruising ground, the British Virgin Islands. So we'll talk a little bit later. I've got a slide at the end of like how to get there and all that kind of stuff, but we're basically just going to talk about some of the places. You start at the main town on Tortola, which is called Road Town. That's where all the charter bases are. And that's just another picture, I think a slightly better picture of the BVI cruising map. Everything is fairly close together, and we're actually not, when we sail, we're actually not in the ocean. We're in what's called the Sir Francis Drake Channel, which is this area in here. And when we go to Anegada, we're behind the Anegada Reef. So we're not actually in the open Caribbean, which can be quite rough. You can see 5-foot waves, 6-foot waves, 10-foot waves are not uncommon in the Caribbean Sea, but this is more the Sir Francis Drake Channel. It's a little bit like sailing in the Chesapeake. A little bit bigger waves, definitely more wind. So it's excellent sailing. We're chartering boats from a charter company in Road Town called Conch Charters. There are about 4 or 5 big charter companies, including the Moorings and Sunsail, but we're on the other side of the harbor. We're chartering boats from Conch Charters, both monohulls and catamarans. Basically, you have your choice. The boats are fairly large. They're about in the range of the monohulls are going to be 48-foot monohulls. So our biggest one over here, Summer School, is 41. So the boats that we're going to charter are 4 cabins and 4 heads. So you get a cabin and your own individual head on the boat. And same thing with the catamarans. Most of those are 4 cabins, 4 heads. One of the people on the boat will be a skipper. So we're going to have a skipper on each boat from Annapolis Sailing School who is responsible for the safety of the boat. So we'll talk about that. So one of the things that people sometimes don't realize, if you go to the BVI and charter yourself, you might charter a 48-foot or 45-foot boat. When you leave the dock, you are responsible for that $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 boat. In this case, you're not responsible. The skipper, who is in charge of the boat, is responsible. So we'll answer any questions you have about any of that. Roadtown itself, when you arrive, you can get there easily by plane. There's several major airlines service Tortola. Roadtown's a nice little town. I think it has about 10,000 people, maybe. A lot of nice businesses. Cruise ships do visit Roadtown, although not large ones, because the water is relatively shallow. They can't get the enormous cruise ships in there, but you know, you see them in the background. They're not quite as bad, not quite as big as the ones in St. Thomas. So we get smaller cruise ships in here, but we try and avoid the cruise ships like the plague. This is one of our 48-foot monohulls right there. So we leave Roadtown. When you arrive, you'll sleep on the boat the first night, unless you want to get there early and stay in a hotel even before everybody else gets there. You can stay on the boat the first night, and then the next day we will leave Roadtown Harbor. The first night when you get there, we'll have a kind of a dinner, all of us together on shore, finish up any provisioning that we have to do. In the morning, you'll get a boat briefing, and we'll make sure you have plenty of water, because that's always important, and then we'll leave. We're going to be on the boat and gone from Roadtown for 7 days. So the first day is usually spent getting used to the vessel. We learn, for those of you that have cruising boats or have been cruising before, this boat sails just like the Summer School. It's virtually the same kind of boat. So we'll spend the first day kind of learning the boat, sailing around, getting familiar with how everything works, and you know, how not to get hurt and all that kind of stuff. And along with the boat, one of the things you also get is a dinghy. So we will be dragging or towing a 9 or 10 foot rubber boat behind us. You can put an amazing number of people into the dinghy. Take a look here. That's 9. I figure we could really get 20 people in a dinghy. And the boat might sink, but the rubber around the edge will still be up there. It just keeps the beer cooler in the middle. So one of the things we do is we don't go too far the first night. So usually we just go to the eastern end of Tortola. It is an upwind sail, so it's maybe 10 miles or a little more than that. So 10 miles upwind. Everybody's learning how to do everything, and learn how to tack the boat and all that kind of stuff. And then the next morning, usually our destination is at the other major island called Virgin Gorda. Virgin Gorda has a very famous national park. I think it might be a UNESCO World Heritage Site called the Baths. And the Baths are a collection of enormous rocks. Some of them are 20 and 30 feet in diameter, and there's caves that you can go through. And it's kind of just a shore excursion. So there's 2 ways to do it. One, the more adventurous way, if the weather is calm, we will put the boat on a mooring ball, get in the dinghy, take the dinghy out to a sort of a drift line, and swim into the baths. So if anybody's interested in snorkeling, that's snorkeling right there. If it's too rough and the red flags are on the beach and it's too dangerous to swim, we will anchor the boat, go into the land on a dinghy, and take a taxi to get over. But anyway, the baths are a huge thing and should not be missed. It actually doesn't have anything to do with taking a bath. I've been told by geologists that these things are called batholiths. And the batholiths are these enormous rocks that have just been kind of burped out by volcanoes and eroded away by the wind over the years, and been there for millions of years. It's fantastic. It's a fun place to see which guy got up there. There we go. Fun place to be. On the other side of the little caves you can go through. And we try to do this early in the morning because the cruise ships have discovered this. So about noon, they tend to show up, you know, in the taxis, and there's a lot of people. So we're usually out of there by the time all the cruise ships get there. And we like to go to one of my famous fancy restaurants at the top of the hill called the Mad Dog. To say that there is no need to bring fancy clothes to the BVI is an understatement. I mean, basically you can go any place in a bathing suit. Flip-flops are optional, shirts are optional, etc., etc. So the Mad Dog is a great place to have lunch. We then sail up to the other end of the Virgin Gorda to a place called North Sound, which is an enormous area, much bigger than the Severn River here. That is completely enclosed, so the water's flat. And there's a couple of resorts there. One is called Ledrick Bay. The other one, very famous one, is called the Bitter End Yacht Club. The Bitter End Yacht Club has been there since the 1960s, and it was a sort of sailor's paradise. Almost, if you've ever read a sailing magazine, you'll always see things about the Bitter End Yacht Club. Unfortunately, the Bitter End Yacht Club, you might remember Hurricane Maria that struck Puerto Rico in 2017. Well, it struck North Sound first, and it destroyed the Bitter End Yacht Club, which has now been sort of rebuilt in its new form. You see the Bitter End Yacht Club people at the Annapolis Boat Show every year, so they'll be there. And they have recently reopened. The Bitter End Yacht Club opened just this past year again. So that's the restaurant and the bar. And in case you want to stay ashore, you can stay in these cool little villas for only about $900 a night. So it's really quite a bargain. But the good thing is, this is a jumping off point. Virgin Gorda is a jumping off point for Anegada, which is my favorite island of all in the BVI. Anegada is a straight, sort of a beam reach, about 12 or 13 miles up to the north. The thing about Anegada is it's the only island that you cannot see when you leave. So you're just literally going over the horizon. On the flotilla with all of us, but you could be on your own boat. And you do have to have a passport for everybody. You want to make sure that your passport is valid for 6 months longer than when you're going to be there. Or else they want to make sure that you're going to leave when you come into the BVI. The currency is very simple. The currency in the British Virgin Islands is the US dollar. So if you bring US dollars, they speak wonders. They will do, you can do anything you want with a US dollar. There is internet. Everybody wants to know about internet. A lot of bars and restaurants and places will stop, have internet. I usually get an international phone plan from Verizon, so I pay $10 a day to, you know, open up and use an international phone plan. You could do that. Almost everywhere we're going to be is you will have a cell phone signal. So it's much like being on the Chesapeake. It's not like we're going to be offshore and you won't have a cell phone signal. Let's see, what else? Yeah, how to get there. The best way to get there, there's actually 3 possible airports. The best one is called the Beef Island Airport, which is Tortola. It's just the airport itself is on a little island that's 6 feet away from from Tortola. I went this year on United. You can go on Delta. You could go on American. I know American has many flights from the DC area down to Miami and then Miami to Tortola. The alternative would be to fly to St. Thomas. St. Thomas is really only about 10 miles away from Tortola. There's a ferry service between the two, but making sure that you've got a ferry time that meets your flight and gets you over to Beef Island. It's also involves 2 different passport controls, because even though you go to St. Thomas and it's a U.S. Virgin Island, they act like it's a separate country. They look at your passport, and they're going to look at it again when you go from there to Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. So I find it very easy to fly into Tortola's airport. It's called Beef Island Airport. That's EIS if you're looking for it. STT is St. Thomas. Theoretically, you could fly, like I have points on Southwest, you can fly to San Juan, but you're about 90 miles away, and usually it's Cape Air, the guys from Massachusetts. They all go to the Caribbean in the winter. So Cape Air will fly you from San Juan, but it's like $350 round trip to go 90 miles to Tortola.
When we flew Spirit to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Spirit to Puerto Rico. Yeah.
And then here we go to Beef Island. I'm pretty sure Spirit goes all the way to the top. Is that right? Spirit. And it got us.
Yep. There's other airlines that are more what I'll call the local Caribbean airlines. There's one called Silver Airways. I got home okay on Silver because I came back from Tortola to Puerto Rico and then back on United. There's one called Liat, L-I-A-T, Liat. If you don't mind smelling gasoline or having an occasional tire blowout on the plane, it's fine.
That's any Boeing airplane right now.
Yeah, they may not be a Boeing Air. It might be a DC-3, actually. Cape Air is fine. They fly small planes, like 10 passengers or less, but they just tend to be a little bit pricier going from one local airport to the other. So I would recommend looking at Beef Island Airport, Tortola, EIS first, St. Thomas, STT second, and Puerto Rico only if you have to. What to pack? This should really be called what not to pack, right? When you go on a boat, you want to have a soft duffel bag. What it needs to have in it is a bathing suit, a t-shirt, optional windbreaker, good boat shoes, some sunblock, a pair of sunglasses, and a hat. That's it. Anything else you bring, you really don't need. I mean, seriously, the most fancy place I ever went to that, like flip-flops were as fancy as it got. And if you want to bring a dress or something, knock yourself out, you'll look great, but you don't need to. So don't pack too much. Everybody brings too much stuff. Yeah.
When we went with our company, we brought our own beach towels.
Yes.
So I would suggest.
That's right.
I would suggest based on the two of us had quick dry microfiber beach towels.
Yep.
All the kids had very cloth towels. The microfiber beach towels was definitely worth the investment.
Yeah.
Dry, the kids stayed wet all the time.
Yeah, I don't know if you could all hear that, but you said a microfiber beach towel. That's true. On the boat, you will get basic linens. So you'll get a couple of bath towels, sheets, the completely unnecessary blanket. But they think it's cold because it's winter in the BVI, and they're all like dressed up, and they think we're all crazy because we come there in shorts. But it's 72 degrees at night. You do not need much. But your beach towel is a good one. Yes.
Just one more possible add-on, like if you have your own snorkel mask that fits you really well, that you have used in the past, sometimes that's better than a rental because it fits your face and you don't have to mess with it.
Yeah, let me tell you what they have at Conch. They actually, the boat has snorkels, masks, and fins.
Nice. Okay.
I always bring my own mask because I don't like necessarily putting something on my face and somebody or my snorkel. So if you can put a mask and a snorkel in your bag, that's fine. I bring a little tiny set of swim fins that's like, a packable one, but you don't need to. So swim fins are included.
What about scuba diving?
Yeah, we're talking about getting down to what's included and what's not included.
Yeah.
But let me go down here. If you decide to come early, you can certainly do that. There are, you can just look on the internet and get motels in Roadtown. I usually go a day early because my biggest fear in the world is that the day that my flight's going to go, we have that snowstorm that hits BWI, and so I always go a day early, and I stay at a motel in Roadtown called Maria's by the Sea, and it's fine. There's a motel right at the marina called Fort Burt Inn, I think. I looked at it last year. It's very basic, like way below Motel 6. You know, so, but there's lots of other places. You'll find a good place. If you want to, some people come early just so they can chill out before they get on the boat. Some people stay later, and they stay on Tortola for 2 or 3 days, or 4 days, or a week, or whatever you want to do. You can certainly stay there longer. The boats are, like I said, as catamarans, somewhere between 45 and 50 feet. The monohulls, we're going to get 48-foot Gino monohulls with 4 cabins and 4 heads. Certification versus vacation. So you're going to learn, whether or not you're taking a class or not, you're going to learn how to charter in the Caribbean by yourself. And you will feel much more comfortable when you're done, whether you take a certification or not. The 104 class that we teach here in Annapolis is 3 days, 2 nights. There, it's going to be 7 nights on the boat, 7 days of sailing. So I call it 104 on steroids. So if you want to do 104, this is going to be the real thing. So you're going to learn everything you could possibly know about how to live on a boat, how to manage water, how to manage power, fuel, how to provision, how to certainly pick up a mooring ball in 20 knots of wind, which we normally don't have to do. I guess except Andy, did you do that, this pick up a mooring ball? Yeah, this is more like the actual BVI conditions the last couple days are out here. So, but on the other hand, this is also a vacation. You don't have to do anything, especially if you're going with somebody and you're concerned that the other person, your significant other, is not a real, big go-go sailor. If that person wants to sit on the towel and on the foredeck and read a book for the week, they could do that. Because usually we have enough people on the boat that are gung-ho about wanting to take the wheel or wanting to sail, that if there's some people that just want to hang out and have a good time, that's fine. We do not sail 8 hours a day by any means. So a lot of times, almost everybody I've ever sailed with has to have coffee first. They'll have coffee and breakfast, and we might sail for 3 hours, we might sail for 4 hours. The real long one is from Anegada to Joost Van Dyke. That might be 5 hours, but it's downwind, and you've got the radio or the Jimmy Buffett on. Yes, sir.
Is all the sailing daylight hours?
Yes, all the sailing is daylight hours. Absolutely, it is illegal for charter boats to sail at night in the BVI. Absolutely illegal. It is filled with reefs. It is filled with rocks, and it does not have any navigational aids. None. I mean, maybe there's one. So it's absolutely verboten to sail at night. The good thing is when you're sailing at the daytime, you can see 50 feet down in the water. So if you're going to hit a rock, you can usually see it before you hit it. But still, that's why you got a skipper on board. They know where the rocks are. Yes, sir.
So if you're doing certification, that's an additional fee of the cost.
Yes, it is. Yeah, we have 2 certifications available. 104. Normally, I think that's something like $1,150 or $1,200. $1,450. 104 down there is $600. We also we're going to do the catamaran endorsement. It's not a cert, it's an endorsement. So if you already have 104 and you want a catamaran endorsement, you can get that for $300 down there.
That's not 114?
That is 114. Yeah, that's 114. Right.
Can you do both?
That's difficult because the way ASA works is they want 104 to be done on a monohull. So to do 104 and 114, you'd have to figure out how to jump boats in the middle of the thing, and we haven't really thought that one through.
I don't recommend it.
Yeah,
Logistically, I really don't.
yeah, you'll enjoy it more. Also, if you've already got 104. That's great. I don't think this is like 104 advanced or 104 on steroids, Or once we find out that you already have 104, I'm going to go and, hey, you, why don't you get on the wheel and show us how to do this? Commodious, but it's still a boat, right? I mean, the head is not that different from summer school. So take a look at the cabins in summer school. If you could put 2 people in there, you're okay with sleeping with your significant other in that cabin. It's not unlike what you're going to get in the BVI. Same thing with the heads. The heads, they told me there are 4 cabins, 4 heads. Yeah, but what they didn't tell me is that only one of the heads had a actual shower stall. The other ones used telephone showers. You know, that comes out of the sink, you know, like this. Personally, I never use those anyway. The showers, I'm always in the back of the boat using the cockpit shower. I jump in the water, soap up, get out, shower off. It's much nicer than down below. What's included?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just for anybody that hasn't taken 104 or isn't familiar with the layout of a bigger boat, let us know and we'll be happy to show you summer school. There's plenty of us around that can walk you down to the boat and get you on board ours if you haven't seen it and want to see it.
Yeah, you got to have some comfort level. I wanted to also say one other thing. If you've not taken 103, that's not the end of the world. If you're interested in getting 103 and 104, what we would like you to do is take 103 here on Valkyrie before the end of October. So we'll get you on a 103 class so you're comfortable driving a big boat, handling a big boat, putting up the sails on a big boat, all that stuff, if you want to. We don't want to do a 103, 104 combo because that's 2 written tests that you have to take, and it's just too much stuff. One of the other problems in the BVI is that they never let you really dock the boat. So they will take the boat away. One of the local guys jumps on the boat, takes it out in the harbor, jumps in the little rubber boat, disappears, and says, see you later, see you in a week. So we might have to dock the boat out there if we go to a fuel dock, or if we, God forbid, we will not run out of water on my boat. But if you run out of water, that's very valuable in the BVI. You have to get more water. So my other name is the Water Nazi, so I will teach you how to spend a whole week with 8 people.
On these charter boats, not even the cats.
Yes, there are water makers on the cats. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work, sometimes, you know, So we're pretty good at water management. There are places along the way. We're going to stop every night in an anchorage. I had one group last year that's like, hey, I don't want to cook dinner on board. That's not vacation for me. I want to eat out of a restaurant every night. Can we do that? The answer is yes, you can't do that. The thing about this is the British Virgin Islands, not French Polynesia. You know, so fish and chips, yes. A really good French meal, no. So the best food that we normally have in the BVI is the stuff we cook on the boat. You know, it's a lot like going to Puzzles. You know, it's not that different. There's fish and chips, there's burgers. You're just gonna pay, you know, $30 for a burger dinner and a drink. You know, it's just a little more expensive. What's included is the boat fuel, the dinghy fuel, the snorkels and masks, and all of basically your bed linens. And Annapolis Sailing School is paying for the provisions. We will almost always eat lunch on the boat while we're sailing. We'll eat breakfast on the boat generally. We'll eat probably 3 or 4 dinners aboard, and we'll eat 3 or 4 dinners ashore. So you pay for dinners ashore, you pay for alcohol. That's one thing we're not going to do is I bet 8 people get on board, and you know, it looks like you're at Davis Pub by the time they come back with all the alcohol. So if you want to really get boozed up, you could do it. You know, you got to pay for that. So that's not included. There are toys available that they can rent you at comp. Like if you want a kayak, if you want a paddle board. We recommend not doing that because we're going to be so busy snorkeling and swimming and sailing that people a lot of times get these toys and they got to find a place to put them on the boat, and they don't use them anyway. So Scuba diving was a question somebody asked about. There are some very famous wrecks that people want to dive on. One of them is called the Rhone, which is a wrecked ship. There are probably 4 or 5 shipwrecks. There are all kinds of scuba dive companies in Road Town that will generally come out and meet you someplace. So if you say, hey, I want to be scuba diving on Thursday, generally they'll come out, pick you up, you'll disappear for a day, and then you'll show up at wherever we are the next evening after you scuba. So that'll be on you to arrange. Yes, sir.
So which days do you have the longest time ashore or daily?
Usually, assuming that day 1 is the day you fly, so we're in the marina that night. Day 2, we're just going about a 3-hour sail. That's a possibility. Day 3, we're pretty busy. That's going over to North Sound. Day 4 up to Anegada, and then we usually we take a day off. So we'll be in Anegada possibly for an entire day not sailing. So if you can look at, I don't know if dive services will come to Anegada or not and get you. We have to kind of work that out and figure it out. There's other ways. Like if then from Anegada, we usually go to Joost Van Dyke and then Norman. So between Joost and Norman, that's another possibility where you could go diving that day.
People fish as part of the...
Fishing, that's an interesting, I think if you want to go fishing, the best way to do it is to go fishing on Anegada when you're on the day off. That's where the best fishing is. It's bone fishing, like Florida. A lot of fishing from the boat, they tell you not to eat fish that you catch from the boat, reef fish, because there's a disease called ciguatera that's very common there, and you can get basically poisoned. It's bad. Yeah, you don't want to do that. So I would go with a fishing guy. I would find somebody in Anegada and probably go fishing with them or lobstering. And I think you probably have a good time out there doing that. Jenny, you got questions from
No, you answered
the boss.
You answered most of Rick's questions.
The boss is in Denver.
He's been like texting me questions. This is that honey-do list. Honey-do game. No, the point I was going to make is, Rick and I are both certified divers. I'm sure there's some others around. That we should make sure to share that information in advance, because it would be good for groups to go diving together, as opposed to 2 going that way and 2 going that way, and this could be also less expensive if you do it as a group. So
Yeah, that's really good.
yeah, so sharing the information in advance.
This is a very common question because almost everybody that's down there is doing a moorings charter or a sunsail charter or something, and they want to go diving for a day. So they're very, very used to picking people up off cruising boats and taking them diving
And I
for a
don't know.
half day or a day.
Yeah, I've dived the road at least 10 times, and I thought it you could do it over and over and you always see the thing. But my favorite diving line was night diving. I don't know whether we can say night diving.
Well, we don't sail during the night, so the boat's got to be just sitting there. So I'd say absolutely. You want to go to a night dive with all those 10-foot long sharks? Knock yourself
No,
out.
it was the groupers that are around.
The groupers, the sharks,
No, Steve will go with them.
all the big things come out at
We
night.
we absolutely love them, so.
Yeah, I would think that's a good idea. We can run some of these, if there's a bunch of people that end up being interested in that, we'll run it by Rossica Twist, who's the local, she's the charter manager, charter-based manager at Tom.
Yeah, maybe
She would know.
direct us.
She would hook us up with a dive company and everything, I think. Any other questions?
We could have a fan in the cabin.
Yes, there are fans, but there's more. These are big boats. They have generators. So we had a thunderstorm one night. We had to close all we turned on the generator and ran the air conditioning at anchor. So if you want to bring your hair dryer, if you want to bring your blender, if you want to bring your microwave oven.
But you have to carry all your bags.
Yeah, but you have to do it all. So I actually, when I was looking at where I was going to sleep on the monohull, I sleep in the salon. So I'm like looking for a place to put my stuff. I'm like, There's a blender, there's a microwave. It's like, we're not going to use any of this stuff. Get this off my boat. But yeah, so they're pretty sweet.
You
Yeah.
said four, so there's 2 quarter berths, and then what's the traditional V berth?
Yeah, the V berth is divided in half. So there are different, the berths in the front are good for relatively tall people who are fairly skinny. The ones in the back are better for shorter people like myself who are bigger. The other thing is, if you like a lot of wind, you're going to get that in the front berths, in the V berth. If you get cold at night, you're going to want to be in the quarter berths. But there are fans in all those.
Can the V berth be, the divider be removed for a couple?
No, that's 2 couples. There's going to be a couple of each half. It's bigger than you think. If you have one family, now I got to tell you, the berths are wider on the catamaran, no question. The salon in the catamaran is roughly the size of the interior of this tent. Well, it's not quite that big, but catamarans are outrageous. I took a couple of driving lessons on catamarans. Ricky likes them. Ricky's going to do the catamaran. Personally, I thought it was like sailing on a bus. So it doesn't heel. Everybody goes, oh, that's going to be a lot better. It's not going to heel. I'm not going to get seasick. Yeah. We're gonna sail and we're gonna be at catamarans. If you think that you're not gonna if you get seasick and you're all concerned about it, and it's like, oh, I don't get seasick on a catamaran. Catamarans have this really kind of odd motion. It's kind of like being drunk. It's kind of like this. A lot of
I can
horsing.
speak to that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes, sir.
Very unnatural.
When does your early bird pricing end? So
When does the early bird pricing end? July 1st.
June 30th. Prices go up to July 1.
July 1, everything goes up $200. No, probably about November, we'll kind of figure out who we've got. If you have friends that you want to go with, we'll definitely make that happen. Unless you've got so many friends that you've got 5 cabins full of friends and we got 4 cabins on a boat, then we got a problem. But we don't usually assign who's on what boat until we have an idea how many people are going. We try and make sure that we have some people with experience, at least one other person with experience on every boat. Because they're big boats to manage by yourself. So we want to sort of even things out a little bit. We wouldn't take all the total newbies that have never been on a boat before and put them all together. I don't think we would do that. That'd be kind of cruel. So, but if you have requests, you can always just submit those to Brenda. Yes, sir. A lot of questions.
do you ever do flotillas in the Med?
Not yet. This is the first flotilla. He asked if we ever do flotillas in the Mediterranean. So we're going to start with the BVI. One of the problems with flotillas in the Med or Croatia is that it's in the summer. So that's when everybody wants to be in Annapolis. What we like to do is to sail when we don't want to be in Annapolis. I've done flotillas in the BVI. I've done them in St. Martin. I've done them in Antigua. I've done them in St. Lucia, Martinique, and the Grenadines. So those are all incredible winter destinations. The summer destinations, you think of the San Juan Islands, Croatia, Greece. That's future years, hopefully. If we get this going, even if you're not going to go yourself, we need to spread the word to every student that walks in the front door and pretty much everybody we know. Because this is a new thing for Annapolis Sailing School, and people are just not thinking about it yet. They haven't really. Yes, sir. If you've got a question, I'm sorry. I'll get right to you. She's been.
Do the boats have a nice smell to them? Because I've done their nice bad smell and a clean smell. Like diesel-y, nastiness.
No, you're not going to get the diesel-y nastiness. What you're going to get is the heads.
Yeah.
So the deal is that, at least our experience with conchs thus far, is that I've never gotten on a boat where somebody exploded the head. That did happen to me once in 2002 on the moorings. So we paid all this money for a moorings charter. It was actually a sun sail charter. And we got on that boat, and they had put all kinds of air freshener in the head. And once we got out, after one day, it was obvious that the head had been exploded by the previous charters. So we will guard against that. We will teach you. In conch, they are very weird about making sure that you handle the heads properly and you don't clog the heads. So their rule is nothing goes in the head unless you've eaten it first. You get my drift? So we provide little Ziploc bags for the toilet paper and everything. Personally, I think that's a little bit overkill. I put toilet paper parts, but yes, sir.
So you're just going to keep, as people sign up, you just keep adding boats to the
Yes.
building? So
Yes.
It's not really,
Yes, I
it's
mean,
not really going to close.
we'll stop at some point when we run out of captains.
Okay.
My guess is that,
Runs out of boats. We are going non-top.
what's that?
Or conch runs out of boats.
Yes.
Because we're going primo.
Yes, this is high season in the Caribbean. So the possibility that they would run out of boats is real. We have already reserved and paid to reserve a couple boats because they told us they had people signing up in April for next winter for boats. So usually if there are a whole bunch of people that decide they want to go in September or October, they may not get to go.
But I see that it's not just this group here, it's on the ASA website, so you
Yes, we have opened
potentially
it up
could get people from anywhere.
to people.
Yeah. Yeah. So far, we don't have that many signups because I think it's early.